Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. We're gonna dip back in on the situation with gaming journalists and pop culture journalists and anime journalists seemingly being kind of butthurt about everything going on with IGN right now, and a lot of them blaming YouTubers, blaming fans, blaming their readers, you know, instead of blaming themselves like they should. I'm going to start off with this image of Electronic Gaming Monthly from 1992. The reason being is that I think gaming journalism peaked in the 1990s, and it's been kind of devolving ever since. When gaming magazines first began, they were for gamers, by gamers. It was a very niche thing, and the magazines kind of blew up as video gaming blew up and became more and more mainstream. And, after a decade or two, we started to get people to come into the industry who wanted to be gaming journos, who actually could go to school for journalism and be gaming journos. And they sort of lost touch with why and how gaming journalism started. A lot of them seemingly want to use their platforms that they're given to promote their own political views, or they're just using gaming journalism as a stepping stone for like the New York Times or Verge or whatever else. They really think they're lowest lane, right? And a lot of them are just Rita Skeeter. And there's been some controversy around IGN again. This isn't the controversy where they stole other people's content and tried to pass it off as their own. But there's a lot of controversy around IGN right now because they posted a very political article calling for aid to Palestine, and IGN Israel did not appreciate that, and the owners of the website decided to take that content down, and now all these reporters from IGN are like, oh my God, how dare you, site owner, take down our content, our politically charged content on your video game news site. And it's leading to some other journos in other areas of pop culture news throwing shade at YouTubers, blaming YouTubers for the decline of their websites. And that's not true. It's just not true. I'm going to talk about that. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We're over 192,000 subs. Thank you so much for the support. Geeky Sparkles is sitting this video out. She's got some other stuff she's working on this morning. And I'm going to bring up some tweets I put out there yesterday. Did not expect to tweet anything on Memorial Day, but I did. We just didn't have time to do a video. So I'm going to talk about it today. But yeah, EGM, circa 1992, 1993. Great magazine. Have a lot of good memories. And you know what? You look through any of these magazines, and I have to agree with Mark here. Wait, this is gaming journalism. Where are the hot takes on the first Gulf War? Where's the think piece on why Chun-Li is a product of the Smurfette principle? Am I a bigot if I vote for Bush? How am I to know these things if I don't read about it in gaming magazines? Yeah, that is true. Back then, it was strictly games. That's it. That's all they talked about. New consoles coming out. They had interviews with creators. The creators did not get political. I don't recall them ever getting political. They talked about the product. They talked about video games. They had not talked about video games and how they affected politics in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I don't think that George Bush is ever mentioned in any of these magazines. I'd have to look. It's been a long time since I've read through them. I actually have years worth of EGM magazines in the garage. But I don't think they ever mentioned politics in these magazines. And you know what? They were very, very successful. You wanted to know how to beat a game, you bought a copy of EGM or Game Pro or some of the other magazines that were out later. We had the PlayStation magazine, and that's what gaming journalism was. It was news about the video game industry for gamers, by gamers. And it was the same with anime journalism. Anime journalism was, fan journalism. Started with zines, moved on to message boards and that sort of thing, and kind of grew organically out of that. In fact, a lot of the very early websites dedicated to gaming journalism and anime journalism and pop culture journalism, movies and that sort of thing, they were developed and in some cases hand-coded by their site creators, who not only had to be journalists, but they also had to maintain their own websites. They had to sell their own ads. They had to do everything themselves. They learned to code. They had to do everything themselves. And we've gone from that to a whole generation of journalists who went to school, got their degree, and they moved into a warmed seat. Someone else had built this site for them, including IGN. IGN was, at one point in time, a small website. It grew pretty quickly. It blew up pretty quickly. And it's hard to remember when they were actually a smaller website. But a lot of these news outlets now started out as small websites. Comic Book Resources, Newsarama, Anime News Network. They all started as relatively small fan-run websites, and now they think they're the moral authority on what you should use your platform for. And I'm sorry, if you built your platform for gaming content, on gaming content for gamers, then that's what people expect. They don't expect your political hot takes. Same with anime news, and same with comic book news for sure. And they're losing their audience. They are. They've been hemorrhaging readers for quite some time. A lot of these websites, because people are like, yeah, they don't really speak for us anymore. I went out to IGN and I'm like, yeah, just in the last couple months, it's all downward, on an all downward trend on views. You see the same kind of pattern with a lot of these other sites too, Kotaku and Polygon. And we know Waypoint got absorbed into its corporate overlords over there at, I think it was Vice. They absorbed Waypoint. We saw IO9, which was a pop culture news site, get absorbed into Gizmodo. A lot of these sites are eating other websites. Games Radar, another big video game website, actually gobbled up Newsarama because it wasn't big enough to, be its own thing anymore. It was too niche. And when you lose the plot, when you forget why you started the website in the first place, or you have people come in and run your websites that didn't build it, they're just squatters basically, then yeah, you're going to lose the fans eventually too. Now, where things are getting weird right now is that there is this trend among journalists, anime journalists, gaming journalists, comic book journalists, to blame YouTubers for their own failures, to be honest. I mean, YouTubers like us, we picked up a lot of the people that you had pushed away. And it didn't happen overnight. It happened after years of attacking and baiting fans, of getting too political on your website that's supposed to be about entertainment. And YouTubers came along and they ate your lunch. We didn't take your people from you. And I want to talk about this because I actually got very, very pissed. I was very salty last night. Now, disclaimer, don't reach out to any of the people I'm going to pull up their tweets. These are public tweets from Bluecheck journalists, so it is fair game, but don't contact them. I'm not making the video with the purpose of you harassing these people. I just want to point out the erroneous logic here. So this particular anime journalist put this out yesterday, talking to this Chris, that video game developer guy, or I'm going to pull his tweets up too, saying that the same false beliefs are growing more widespread regarding anime and fandom journalism as well. Chris here, and I'm going to pull his stuff up, said, the more I talk to, genuinely engage with, and ask questions of people that are mad about gaming journalists, the more I come to understand that all of their complaints are rhetoric drummed up by outrage baiting and have no basis in reality. No, they do. People are leaving. You want to talk about outrage baiting? Why did Kotaku take a PlayStation 5 review and turn it into an anti-Trump rant? There was literally no reason to do that. This would not have happened on EGM's watch, for sure. I mean, you people didn't build anything. You came into websites that were already running and you moved into a warm seat. I would love to see any of these people build their own websites from the ground up. And if you do that, kudos to you, regardless of whether or not I agree with your opinions. Kudos to you. You actually built something. You built something. This other journalist goes on to say, unfortunately, there is a growing number of people who believe anime reporters hate anime and are corporate shills, while YouTube shout men are the last bastion of truth. That's part of why there's a spike in misinformation about how anime is produced and distributed. Except, in some cases, those YouTube shout men and shout women, we got geeky in here too, shout women. In some cases, those shout men might actually have contacts in the industry. They might have actually worked in and around people in the industry. They might have people from the industry leaking information to them like they used to do with you. And I think it's so funny because these digital journalists were gloating about the demise of print magazines, of print gaming magazines and print anime magazines, a lot of them. And now you are staring at the meteor yourselves. I said, look, translation, don't listen to YouTubers, listen to me. That's basically what this boils down to. It's basically what boils down to here. Now, this is Chris here, Bluecheck. This is him justifying the existence of gaming journos. This is why companies need gaming journos. If games journalism ceased to exist tomorrow, three things would happen. The number of new studios would fall. No, it would not. The number of paid influencer campaigns would rise. Maybe it's already happening. We've been turning down Raid Shadow Legends for like 2 years now. The cost of making games would increase due to needing a significantly larger ad spend. Nothing you said is true. None of this is true. And this is, of course, is them tweeting at Hard Drive Magazine. Why are they pissed off at Hard Drive Magazine? Because Hard Drive Magazine reposted an old parody talking about how lame IGN is, that IGN was lifting content, etc. And we had these journos come down saying that they were being punched down upon. Punching down isn't funny. Punching down is not funny. I just want to bring this up real quick here. J2 revenue. Now, this is before the Palestinian debacle. Their revenue surges. Their revenue surges on digital media gains. This is the company that owns IGN, but they own other websites too. Now, they own Mashable, they own IGN, they own Speed Test, they own Retail Me Not, and they own some other sites too. So that's not saying that IGN is bringing it. But they said they made $398.2 million in the first quarter of 2021, up from $332.4 million revenue the same quarter of 2020. Now, last year, I will admit, last year ad spends were down because we didn't know how the pandemic was going to go, and a lot of advertisers just stopped. They just stopped advertising. And we ran into this with YouTube. We saw our YouTube ad revenue halved. I mean, it was halved almost overnight. Like everybody just stopped spending money until they had a good feel of where things were going to go. But the company is making millions and millions of dollars every quarter. Again, that's not saying IGN brings it, but they do have other websites. I know Retail Me Not does pretty well too. And to say that they're being punched down on, these poor journos are being punched down by YouTubers is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But in regards to this, like they're getting their misinformation from YouTube. I also want to point out too, and I might bring those numbers up here later. A lot of these websites, they might do well, as websites, but a lot of these journos have tried to do YouTube and they've failed. The Mary Sue has failed miserably. Bleeding Cool has failed miserably. They've tried to jump to YouTube. But they can't do it. They can't do it because they're fake. A lot of these people are fake. Not all. I want to be very clear. There are some good journalists out there. There are some sites out there I think are pretty reputable. But the fact is that you have a lot of people working for these websites who think that they got their degree in journalism and that makes them a journalist, and that they're going to work for the New York Times, eventually, someday. But first, they got a smackdown Gamergate on these websites, I said it's too late. Many, but not all, pop culture news outlets undermine their own credibility long before YouTube commenters started eating their lunch. Don't blame YouTube, blame yourselves for not keeping your audience. Readers went looking for alternatives. That is entirely true. They did. You know, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. I said, if some individual rando with a mic and a webcam working out of the corner of their bedroom can get more video views than your polished, corporate produced, studio filmed YouTube channel, maybe you're just doing it wrong. Maybe you're doing it wrong. Pimp Master Broda said they got life on easy mode compared to the average YouTuber. Big corporate backing, major brands backing, straight big media access to their events, and a network of other major corporate backed journalists in their circle. If they fail with those resources, it's time to quit. Yeah, I said first generation journos had to build, maintain, and promote their own websites. These fools moved into a warmed seat, and it's entirely true. They didn't have to build anything. They moved into a warm seat. To be clear, and I want to restate this, I'm not actively rooting for anyone to lose their job, but journos, if you find yourselves suddenly unemployed, don't blame YouTubers. The viewers came to us, not just us in particular, but other YouTubers, because you failed them first. The reason people are going to YouTube is because it's one of the last places where you can get honest opinions. You know, and that's even starting to crack because we do have, you know, companies like Raid Shadow Legends ban everybody off you know, but so far it hasn't had the compromised integrity. And individual YouTubers haven't compromised their integrity as much as these big corporate owned 398 some million dollars. 398.2 million the first fiscal quarter of 2021. Companies like this that are sucking up ad revenue, they got to keep their advertisers happy. You know, they're very, very top heavy. And individual YouTubers don't have that problem anymore. We're kind of where EGM was back when it first started, before it became such a big deal that it was basically, you know, making enough money to pay its people and making enough money to stay in print. And that's basically it, you know? And if you're salty about that, you have no one to blame but yourselves. But to say that journalists are being punched down by small fry YouTubers is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, let's look at Nerdist. Let's look at Legendary Entertainment. You know, again, it was a pop culture site, pop culture podcast network started by fans. They were Hollywood fans, but they were still fans, right? And they got scooped up by Legendary Entertainment. Last year, they cut 30% of their staff, a lot of them in video. And if you look at their numbers, you can see why. Like, this is freaking sad. This is Nerdist, 2.7 million subscribers, big corporate geek website, 76,000 views in a day. I mean, look at this. They had one day where they had 438,000 views. But for the most part, I mean, 3.294 million views. We get more than that, and we're actually a pretty small channel. We've only got a little under 200,000 subs. This is Nerdist. They've been around for, since 2007, and they have almost 3 million subscribers. Okay, this is... They're failing. They're failing at YouTube. They did not make the jump. Here's the Mary Sue, right, with their hot takes. And they have a studio and all this other shit that they set up. A couple hundred views a day if they're lucky, with, you know, a couple thousand subscribers. That's it. That's the Mary Sue. This is effing sad. I mean, this is just sad beyond sad. Anime News Network, big anime news website, loves to throw shade at YouTubers at every opportunity. In fact, I think that one journalist, if I'm not mistaken, has written for Anime News Network. We've been on the receiving end of Anime News Network editors calling us Nazis before. Didn't appreciate that, by the way. Really didn't. Anime News Network, for as big as they're supposed to be, they're lucky if they crack 1,000 views in a day. They only have 14,000 subscribers. You know, you've got your website that can promote your YouTube channel, and you can't do it. So why are they throwing shade at people like us? Why are they trying to say that we have it wrong? I mean, look, they've gotten it wrong on many, many occasions over Anime News Network. It's because they're dying on the vine, you know? And I think in the case of IGN, at least, With IGN, their corporate owner, J2 Global, is trying to bump up their quarterly earnings. Having your reporters out there going rogue and getting all political is not helping. It's definitely not helping. It's drawing unneeded attention to IGN when they should just stick to games, for sure. It's going to change. I think things are going to change. Either these politically charged websites are going to wind up losing more people until they're not even financially viable. We're saying Nerdist is going to go belly up here pretty soon. I got to wonder how long Anime News Network is going to be around realistically until some anime studio buys it. They'll probably buy it and turn it into a PR mouthpiece, for like Funimation or something. Who the hell knows? But, the sites that are going to last are going to be the ones that actually give people the content they want. And don't blame YouTube. Don't blame YouTubers. We basically found the audience that you gave up on a long time ago, that you drove away a long time ago. Many of us didn't even pick up a microphone until long after people had left your websites. So, if you've got to blame somebody, look in the mirror, blame yourself. Take some responsibility for the state of pop culture journalism, because frankly, at the end of the day, it's all your fault. It's all your fault. Gonna wrap it up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.